Greetings everyone, it's Cain here. Welcome to my video. So in this video, I'm just going to be rambling on food prices. You know what's interesting? In the 18th century, 2/3 of your income will be spent on food. 2/3. Now today, currently, majority of people in America spend 1/3, if even that. Majority probably less on food. You know, it's quite interesting how back then, if you owned pineapples or had citrus fruits, you had abundance. You were rich, very wealthy. Today, pineapples are $2. You can find them anywhere. Citrus fruits are really cheap. Anyone can get them and enjoy them. A lot to be grateful for. You know, back then, you know, when people used to trade pineapples, they used to take them to England and they used to just pretty much have them on the table just to show that they were rich and had abundance as a egotistical thing. You know, they used to put a pineapple. They used to have a lot of things with pineapples back then. You know, they created like a little symbol. You know, anyway, in today's times, we genetically modified crossbred fruits to be more nutritious and to be bigger. Example, back in the 18th century, avocados used to be pretty much nothing but a seed, and you get very little avocado around. Today, avocados, the seed's pretty small, and you get a big avocado, more of the green. You know what I'm saying? Lots changed. Change is always happening. Just rambling about it, putting content on my channel. You know, everyone complains about food prices. A lot of people do. When we have more than 50 million people on food stamps currently. In America, and majority of humans don't even grow their own food, don't even have any crops. You know, the majority don't even have any land. Majority of my generation will not be homeowners, unfortunately, unless the family passes down their homes. You know, they die and they pass their, you know, through every passing generation. But the majority won't. The majority will be in, I don't know, condos, apartments, wasting their money making landowners rich, and just sleeping in a cubicle that looks like a pixel. All these apartments nowadays look like pixels, unless you want a really top-notch apartment, gated apartment community, then it's overpriced, and to be honest, it's just empty rooms with a toilet and a furnace system. Pretty much it. That's what you're paying for. Yeah, it's getting crazy out here, guys. If you can, buy land, own property. You know, you gain capital in doing that in time. Be smart with your money. Don't waste it on an apartment or a storage unit. That's a mental illness right there. Anyway, on the topic of food, a majority of Americans do not grow their own food. You know, like I said, don't even have any land to grow food, nor do they have the knowledge, nor do they care to, because we have grocery stores at every corner. You know, back in the 18th century, it was a whole different story. You had to have a basement, you know, way below the house, you know, because it was colder down there. It was like the natural refrigerator. You could store jams, store jellies, peaches that you harvest from the trees, from your surroundings. Foods to survive throughout winter. You see, back then, winter was kind of an eerie time, you know, because if you didn't have enough food, you would have to trade with your neighbors Hopefully your neighbors are will splurge and give you some of their food that they've grown. If they're nice, you could trade maybe fish. Everyone had fish back then. Fishing back then, fish was how this country came to be. Fish were plentiful, fish were everywhere. Nowadays, they pretty much have to stock fish, and if they don't, the rivers will dry up and the fish will die because people are assholes and pollute them and overfish and yeah, you would have to trade fish for some fresh fruits or vegetables or meats. You had to slaughter your own meats. Nowadays you have it made. You really do. And a lot of people nowadays have this OCD or have this anxiety where they can't even go to the supermarket because they get so much anxiety and it's such a huge thing to them. It is fascinating how people are becoming lazy, fat blobs like in the movie WALL-E. DoorDash wasn't even a thing a couple years ago, and now it's skyrocketed. Now people don't even drive to places. They go to work, come back, DoorDash, and maybe, Uber Eats, DoorDash, Postmates. Maybe once in a while they'll go out with the family, the Shakey's or to a buffet or restaurant, but time's of the essence nowadays. People do not have time. And it's sad because it's driving mental illness upon the majority of people on this planet, which is causing dysfunction and illness within. People are getting sick. Diabetes, cancer, heart disease, the top 3 killers in this country. And that has to do with pretty much diet and overall lifestyle. People had perks back in the 18th century that we don't have today. It was a simpler time. And you could think it's a son of a bitchin' tragedy how we're in a certain time currently of what's going on and what is to come. But you got to be grateful, guys. Appreciate the little things. Be grateful. You don't have to slaughter your own meat. Hell, you don't even need to eat meat nowadays. I recommend a vegan or a Pritikin diet. Pritikin diet's you guys should look into that and read into it. Good stuff. If you care about longevity, vitality, immortality, live as long as you can, and being balanced. Because remember, diet contributes to how you think and how you feel throughout that day and throughout your life. Plays a big part. So if you eat like crap, you'll feel like crap. When I was a kid in high school, the majority of all these Mexicans, all they ate was hot Cheetos and hamburgers. They would pour like a big ass bowl full of hot Cheetos, squeeze lime, put some chicharron. They just made such absolute garbage in which it became like a California tradition around where I grew up, like LA. It was a big thing, hot Cheetos. Now it's Takis and all this crap, high fructose corn syrup. Every commercial you see, it's high cholesterol foods such as um, hamburgers, steaks, deep fried chicken. Uh, it's very scary. African Americans have a higher risk of developing colon cancer compared to other races. And I believe that's due to their diet because they do eat a lot of, the majority, not all, eat a lot of high fried food. Yeah, be grateful that you have grocery stores that have variety of fruits and vegetables, delicious. Um, but don't forget the past of how humans came to be, such as the 18th century from the 15th century, way back then. I find history very interesting because it's violent. It's just fascinating how people's mindsets were back then, and hell, just looking back at the 90s, when I go back, it's just truly fascinating how we've come a long way in such a short amount of time. And music wise, I still remember when basketball players wore short shorts. A lot has changed. Music, diet. A lot of people are starting to care for their health more since the COVID outbreak. And then there's a big other percentage that just are becoming addicts and overdosing and don't even care anymore. Drinking Mountain Dews and eating Arby's. Take care of yourself, guys. Just here to spread the word. Hope you guys enjoy these rambles. I find them interesting. I hope you guys do too. 2/3 of your income on food back then. Man, times were so simpler. I wonder the rest would probably go to, I don't know, your land, maintaining it, rifles, ammo, shoes, little things like that. The majority of Americans today complain when they don't even cook. They don't even use the stove unless it's probably a cup of noodles or baking pizza rolls or, the majority, not all. I emphasize that because there are people who adapt and save as much money as they can and eat healthy. You got to eat. Got to get your fiber in. Fiber is very important. Limit sodium intake. Try to stay under 2,000 milligrams of sodium. Limit cholesterol. Try to avoid cholesterol. All in all. Eggs have a lot of cholesterol. Remember that. If you do eat eggs, remember that they are very high in cholesterol. And though they are relatively low in saturated fat, remember that yolk contains the cholesterol. Simply remove it if you want to avoid a lot of cholesterol. There are health benefits in the yolk as well. But with that cholesterol, the negatives outweigh the positives. But then again, it's food. A lot of us, eggs are very cheap. A dozen eggs cost $1, $2. Convenience is an issue to a lot of us. But health is wealth. And, in life, you just got to roll the dice sometimes, but you also have to have a strict regimen. You have to have a routine, and you have to discipline yourself because it's easy. It's easy to fall off the bandwagon. A lot of us do it. I could strain my eyes all day, play video games on the computer, eat like crap, and it's very easy to go down that path. I choose the path of compassion and health and being close to nature, because nature is truly astonishing. And if it wasn't here, we wouldn't be here. So we have to respect it. Just something to think about. If you guys do own land, I recommend keeping bees. Not just for you, because you get wax and honey in return. Bees make more than enough honey to support themselves. Not only does a beehive help you, but it helps your surrounding community by pollinating, but also the ecosystem. Birds eat the dead bees. When bees get old, they throw the dead ones in front of the hive, and birds eat them. Other insects eat them. So when you help the insects, you help the animals, which is us. It's all a cycle. You know, the whole little one beehive creates like a whole ecosystem. The animals know where to turn to for food. All the other insects come, spiders, wasps, ants. You know, everyone thrives and eats, and it's a beautiful thing. I realized that when I lived in California and when I was keeping bees. Try to grow your own food, guys. Try to, have a blackberry bush. Grow your own food. A lot of people, it's very fun when you live in tropical climates such as Florida or California when you're growing food. But as for Colorado and places like that, it's kind of a bummer because everything dies. And it's kind of losing motivation growing foods and flowers and being outdoorsy. But be grateful. You have a variety of food. Back then, your main staple diet was beer and bread with butter, cheese, and meat. That's pretty much it. Flour. Flour was very easy. Everyone pretty much ate flour. They carry a little sack of it. Even it became rations for the military to carry flour. You just put some water on it, put it on the rock by a fire, and make your biscuits. Pemmican, I believe that's what it's called back then. That's how they survived, was on pemmican. It's like a jerky mixed with berries. Yeah. 2/3 spent on food. When as today, the majority of our income goes to a vehicle, a house, and a kid. Lots changed. Back then, your kid was pretty much your servant, your little slave. They had no. If you were the dad, you'd tell them how it is until they got older and were on their own. Nowadays, the parent's the slave to the kid. It's a big reason why people had a lot of kids back then too. They would have 12 to 15 kids back then. That was normal. You had to survive. You never know. You need to work, have the kids work on the land, raising the farm animals, the chickens. Interesting too, chickens were a lot smaller back then. They were very smaller compared to nowadays. Today's chickens are on steroids pretty much and been genetically modified, which is why they don't live very long, because their hearts give out because they can't support. We're just messing around with shit, and eventually it's gonna cause disease and it's gonna end us all. If we go out that way, if we don't go to World War III or any other fucked up ass shit. Yeah, change is good. Change is scary. Some of it's not so good, but it's happening. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. Leave a comment, subscribe, Hit that bell. Thank you.